Hey everybody, happy Tuesday. Hope you guys are all doing well. It's Nancy from American Pet Professionals, and we're back for our sixth episode of digging into the pet industry. And today I'm so excited to have one of our members, Peggy Hoyt of Animal Care Trust USA, joining us. Hey Peggy, how are you?
Hey Nancy, I'm great.
I'm going to tilt myself down a little bit. I feel like I'm low. So it's so good to see you. I know we just saw each other in person at Global Pet Expo back in March. And I know you were down there in sunny Florida.
Yes, what a great event that was too.
It was. It was so great to be back in person at the event. So we just jump right in on digging into the pet industry. And I would love to know, tell me your background and how you got started with Animal Care Trust USA.
So I guess my background's a pretty long journey, but I started as a pet lover from, I want to say, from the day I was born practically. I think I asked for my first horse before I turned a year old, and I've been collecting dogs, cats, horses, hamsters, everything in between ever since. Once upon a time, like a lot of little girls, I wanted to be a veterinarian and somehow got sidetracked and ended up in law school. And decided
That's a big sidetrack.
It's a big sidetrack. But I decided I still wanted to find a way to have my passion and my profession. And so it occurred to me that our pets are a lot like our minor children, only they never grow up. So they always need somebody to protect them. And since I was doing estate planning and elder law, I thought, what better way than to start educating my pet parents about how to protect their pets using a pet trust.
Wow. And so when did Animal Care Trust USA actually come about?
So we're a relatively new organization. We were founded in 2018, but I've been doing pet planning for, gosh, probably close to 20 years now. But the pet planning industry itself is a pretty young industry because it was only in 2016 when finally the last state in the United States adopted a pet trust statute. But now all 50 states and the District of Columbia allow for the creation of a trust for the benefit of a pet.
Wow. And when did that come about?
The last state was 2016.
Okay. Wow. So that's awesome. Yeah. And, a lot of people, they either don't want to think about it or they don't even know that this is something that you can do as a pet parent. So you started Animal Care Trust. You kind of married both of your background, love of animals, and being a lawyer. And so I know Animal Care Trust is a nonprofit organization. Tell me, as a lawyer, what wanted you to make you start Animal Care Trust?
Well, I had started quite a while ago doing just the pet trust planning for my clients. I had written a book called All My Children Wear Fur Coats, How to Leave a Legacy for Your Pet. And then it really became apparent that there was no organization out there that was solely dedicated to educating pet parents about the importance of planning for their pets, and then also providing resources for how to create a pet trust, and then ultimately offering trustee services to be able to manage the assets of the pet trust and make sure that the pets were getting the benefit of the trusts that were created for them.
So let's go back a little bit. Why don't you explain what a pet care trust is?
Okay, so a pet trust is a trust just like you would think about a trust for a minor child. So if you had a child that was under the age of 18 and you happened to pass away, children under 18 can't own property. So providing property for them in the form of a trust with a trustee, somebody to manage that for them until they reach a specific age in their life or until they're old enough to take over the management of the trust themselves. that trust is really designed as a protective device. So, taking that into the animal world, this is creating a trust for the benefit of a pet. So, the pet is the beneficiary, but pets can't be their own trustees. So, you have to have people or organizations do that. And then you also have to have what I call the pet caregivers, the people that are going to provide both the short term and the long term care for the pets.
Okay. So my question to you about that is then, if you have somebody, you set up a pet trust, right? And so that gives somebody else, you're naming somebody else as the caretaker, correct?
Yep. As the care, I call them caregivers. Sounds nicer than taker, right? Caregiver.
Right. Yeah, yeah, caregiver. And so, did there an additional caregiver in case something happens to the first person?
Yes, I like, when possible, I like for people to be able to name up to three possible choices with
Okay.
perhaps an organization like Animal Care Trust as a last resort, if that was necessary. There's lots of different ways that people can plan for their pets. Some people are happy having their pets go to another home, what I call a forever home, or a forever family. Some people want their pets to stay in their home. So, for example, if something were to happen to me, I want a pet caregiver to move into my house and actually take care of my pets so that my pets don't have to go anywhere. They stay right in their own home, in their own beds, in their own pasture, on their own catio. Nothing really changes for them other than the fact that I'm not there. Somebody new is there to provide for their daily needs, to love them, to take them to the vet, to make sure they're taken care of. And then another person or organization, Animal Care Trust in this instance, will oversee the management of the assets, the financial assets. And that's always a question, Nancy, that comes up is how much
Yeah.
money should I leave for my pets? And the answer to that question is your typical lawyer answer, and that is it depends.
Mm.
It depends on what you're trying to accomplish. So you might be able to leave just a little bit of money, $5,000 or $10,000, if you had a dog or a cat. But if you were leaving a parrot that had an extraordinarily long
Mm.
life, or you had a horse that
Yep.
they're just extraordinarily expensive to keep, you have to think about what's the life expectancy of your pet. And then I always tell people to add about 5 years longer than you think is the longest possible time your pet could live, just to make sure that there's more than enough money to provide for the pets.
So that's really interesting to have that extra 5-year buffer just in case. How long does it take to create a pet trust with somebody, as generally?
Well, there's a lot of different ways you can go. And so that's where Animal Care Trust comes in as well. So we have what we call the Act for Pets Community Pet Trust. And that's actually a trust you can join. So you could go online and join that pet trust and be signed up in as little as 30 minutes. Or you could opt for what we call the Forever Loved Pet Trust. And that's a trust that you can download and then personalize for yourself and your pets. Or you can go the next step, which would be a custom pet trust, where you would work with us, our law firm, or a law firm of your choice to custom create a pet trust that's going to be specific to your pets and your needs.
And so, how long does a custom one take then?
Well, I usually say it's probably going to be a multi-step process. So in my firm, it would be at least 3 meetings. It would be the first meeting, which I call the discovery and decision dialogue. So kind of a getting to know you opportunity. The second meeting would be the design of the pet trust or the estate plan and the pet trust. And then the third meeting would be what I call the signing ceremony, which is the review and then the signing of the document to make sure that everything's effective. But it doesn't stop there, because then you have to make sure that you own your assets in a way that's going to make sure that that trust is funded properly so that there are assets available for the pets.
Okay, so in addition to funding, like for me, I am somebody that goes to a holistic veterinarian. I have a holistic veterinarian that practices both Eastern and Western medicine, regular vet medicine, and all of that. If I was somebody that I was creating a pet trust and said, I want to make sure that my dog is still going to his same vet, or going to a vet that provides service. Is that part of the trust that can be put in there?
Absolutely. So you can be very specific about where you want your pet to live, how you want your pet to live, who the veterinarians should be, what kind of care they should receive. I encourage all my clients to fill out a loved pet profile for each of their pets. And this
Right.
is a multi-page document that basically is the equivalent of babysitter instructions.
Right.
What you would leave if you were going out of town and leaving your kids with a babysitter for the first time.
So how do we know that the pet care trust or the pet trust is set up, and hopefully that you won't ever need it, but if you do have to use it, that who do we have that's like, as a lawyer, do you, as your firm, overseeing, like, if that trust goes into action, that the person set up, that the dog is being cared for, that the way that they want, all of that, is it something that is part of it, or is that just on the honor system?
So that's something that your trustee should be empowered to do. And
Okay.
that's one of the reasons that Animal Care Trust came into existence, was to be able to act as that trustee, to check in on the pets periodically, make sure that they're being taken care of, that they're alive and well, reviewing veterinary certificates. And then some of our programs even include what we call Journey's End, which is making sure that at the end of your pet's lifetime that they receive a humane euthanasia, and then cremation, and then disposition of those cremains in the way that the pet parent desires.
Wow, that's incredible. So I love that there's, like, somebody watching over to make sure that that's being taken care of, because I think that gives pet parents a big peace of mind, right?
Yeah,
Um,
that's the whole purpose of having a trust,
yep,
because otherwise I would just give you $100,000 and all of my pets, right? But there's no oversight.
right.
So how do I know that you're not going, woohoo, thanks for the 100,000, and dropping my pets off at the nearest shelter? And unfortunately, that's what happens to a
Yep.
lot of pets, is that we make the assumption that our children or our spouses or our loved ones will step into our shoes, take care of our pets, love them like we do. And the reality is, most of our family doesn't want anything to do with our pets.
Yeah, which, for a while it used to be something that you would see, somebody would post, I can't believe their family didn't take those pets. And as a pet parent, as you're like, yeah, I can't believe that. Like, if that was somebody in my family, I would take the dog. That's just me. But sometimes it doesn't work that way. What if the dogs don't get along? What are you going to do with your dog that you've had? So I think less judgment on that on our parts as humans, when something like that happens, and hopefully more people will start setting up pet trusts. What do you think? And you might not know the answer to this, but the estimate is for pet parents that have pet trusts across the country.
I've seen some statistics that say somewhere between 12 and 27% of people who have actually done their planning may have planned for their pets, but there's no way to
Yeah.
really get those numbers down pat. Um, I all I can do is speak for my clients, and I know that 100% of my clients do something for their pets. They may not adopt a pet trust, but they are going to at least guilt a family member into thinking that they have to take care of pets. And I always encourage people to leave money with their pets, because leaving the responsibility without the resources, I think, is patently unfair. Uh,
Yeah.
I might love to take care of Cody for you, but Cody obviously has some expensive veterinary habits, and you know,
That was
maybe
Yeah, yeah. His
maybe
vet
you
is
can
actually
pay for
awesome,
that.
but yeah, maybe it's just all the spoiling his is the expense, all the toys and treats and stuff like that. Yeah, that's really funny. It's interesting. So, I know we talked a little bit about what happens, but when a pet parent can no longer provide for a pet, say they're going into the hospital or hospice care, what happens to the pet then? A lot of times, a senior citizen or somebody that maybe is owning a pet and doesn't have the capacity to give the pet to somebody else will put off medical treatment for something that they need because they don't want to leave their pet alone.
I don't think that's uncommon at all. That people would sacrifice themselves for the for the welfare of their pets.
Yeah.
Um, because really, pets bring so much to our daily lives. In fact, there are statistics that do show that pets keep us healthier overall. but I
Yeah.
can certainly see an older person being unwilling to seek treatment or to get out of the house if they didn't have a plan for their pet. So we really are trying to provide those resources. Many local humane societies and SPCAs and organizations are starting to offer programs for the long-term care of pets. I just encourage people to, seek out the resources in your community, seek out our resources at our website at actforpets.org. There are resources out there, and just make use of them.
Yeah, and I agree with that as well. And I'm curious, do you guys work with hospitals or nursing homes teaching about your services?
We go everywhere and anywhere that anybody asks us to speak. So I've been on this speaking trail for about 20 years now, I guess. And I feel like I'm making inroads some days, and other days, it's still a drop in the bucket. But I feel like it has to be, you tell two people and they tell two people and they tell two people. And pretty soon pet trusts are the norm and not something that people go, wow, I never heard of a pet trust.
Right, right. What about veterinary hospitals and veterinarians? I'd be curious about that because, that would seem like it would be part of your standard care, right? You have somebody that's coming in and you're doing all the things medical wise for the pet, but what about, like scanning for a microchip, making sure that's still there? Like, what is that operation? Do you do that with any veterinarians?
So we try to educate veterinarians, of course, to then educate their pet parents. I feel like a lot of veterinarians get surprised by clients who leave them pets thinking, oh, my vet loves pets, so I'll just leave my dog Fluffy to my veterinarian and they'll take care of them. But gosh, if every client did that, vets would be running animal shelters and not hospitals or veterinary clinics.
Right.
It is important when you're putting together your plan for your pet, though, to properly identify your pet, and microchipping is one way to do that. There's an old story about a cat that was a beneficiary of a pet trust, and this happened to be a black cat. And that black cat lived an extraordinarily long life because they kept replacing the cat with another black cat.
Oh, geez.
Just to keep the terms of the pet trust going. So proper identification of the pets is
Wow.
really important.
Fraudulent pet trust. That's so ridiculous, but I'm not surprised either, right?
Oh yeah, where
Wow.
there's a will, there's a way, right?
Yeah, literally. Oh my gosh. So, let me ask you this. So, do you work with any lawyers? Does Animal Care Trust USA work with any other lawyers or lawyer firms across the country to properly create trust for pet parents?
We
'Cause
do, absolutely, we
I'm
do.
imagining it's an education process as well for lawyers to learn.
It is an education process, and I've been working at educating lawyers for a long time too. But I'm a member of two national organizations, the Wealth Council and Elder Council. And regularly, when they ask me, provide speaking opportunities to educate the lawyers of those organizations. They also have some pet trust provisions built into their standard drafting programs. So lawyers are becoming more aware of the need to do this. But just like human beings, which some lawyers are, we
You
not
said it,
all,
not me.
yeah, not all of us love pets, right?
Right.
So I always encourage people to work with a lawyer who loves pets because they're going to be more sensitive to your planning needs. They're going to have more ideas about what you can or can't do for the benefit of your pets. And they're just going to be sympathetic. They're going to have resources available to guide you if you have questions. For example, I did a pet trust the other day for a relatively new client who wants to plan for his pig. And, not all of us have pigs, but it was interesting to learn about her daily routine and her needs and the ways that he wanted to provide for her. But she's his child as far as he's concerned.
Yeah. So, I have a fun question. What is the craziest thing that you've seen on a pet trust?
Well, I mean, planning for a pig is not crazy, but it's a little unusual.
Right.
I've also done a pet trust for chinchillas.
Okay.
So some clients that had chinchillas as their pets. A client who actually bought $1 million life insurance policy to fund his pet trust because he had tortoises that could easily
Mm.
live to be 100 years old.
Wow, wow. Nothing outlandish like our dogs will only drink, sparkling water or something.
Oh, I haven't had that one yet, fortunately, but
Okay.
I'm sure it's coming.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure eventually, right? We all hear the stories about who was it, I think within the last year that passed away, celebrity that left like $10 million to their pets or some crazy number. And everybody
I
was
hope
like,
so. That's wonderful.
yeah, a lot of people were kind of up in arms about it. And I was like, that's their pet. Why are you so upset? It's going to be taken care of for the rest of its life. It's amazing.
Well,
Um,
yes, there is the famous story of Leona Helmsley leaving
yeah, I
$12
think
million
that's what,
dollars.
yes,
Okay.
yeah, yeah, Leanna Hemsley, that's who it was.
Yeah, she left $12 million for her dog Trouble. And actually, a court set that amount aside, saying that $12 million was too much for a dog. And they cut that down to $1 million.
Mm,
And I personally object to that because that was Miss Helmsley's money
yep,
and she should be able to do whatever she wants to do with it. And I have been known to say that, hey, if I have $100 million and I want to leave it for my dogs and cats and horses, that's nobody else's business but
yeah,
mine.
I agree. I agree. But I know there was people like, "Oh, that money could have done so much, in other places." And I agree though, that was her money. So, and I'm sure she did enough for, other places that she helped out. I don't know, but I'm sure.
She did have a charitable trust
Yeah,
and she was helping other charitable organizations.
yeah,
And ultimately, my advice to clients is that when the pet trust is finished, so when the purpose for the trust has been complete and the last of the pets has passed away, that's when I recommend that we leave the remainder to one or more charities.
yeah.
And I like charities as beneficiaries as opposed to people because I don't want people trying to come in and bust the trust,
Right, right.
like what happened in Leona's case.
Yeah, I really agree with that. And it's a really nice gesture also, and it'll help other animals if that's the charity that they choose afterwards. So you touched a little bit before on your Forever Pet Trust, and what are those programs, a Forever Pet Trust and Forever Placement? Were those the ones that you were saying that you fill out paperwork?
So there's three types of trusts that we offer. The first one is the Act for Pets Community Pet Trust. So that's
Okay,
the trust that you can join. So
okay,
you don't have to create a trust at all. You just sign a joinder agreement and promise that you'll fund the trust with an appropriate amount of money. Fill out the paperwork and make sure that I'm aware of that. And the second type of trust is called the Forever Loved Pet Trust. And that's a pet trust that I've created, but it's one that you can personalize for yourself. You can pick your own pet caregivers. You can pick your own pet trustees. It's your trust. You can do anything you want with it. And then there's the custom pet trust. If
okay.
people want to go that above and beyond for their pets, maybe incorporate their pet trust into their own personal trust planning, then that's something that we can either help you with or we can introduce you to a lawyer that can help you.
So at the very least, set something up for yourself with the second one that you were talking about. I think for somebody that's watching that as a pet parent that maybe never thought of having a pet trust, and are kind of like, oh, this isn't something that I didn't think about. I should be thinking about this. So for sure, the second one at least, right? And then contact you if they want to move forward.
Yeah, and good assets for funding pet trusts are life insurance, of course, because that's a an asset that will exist at the end of your lifetime as long as you keep those premiums paid. Retirement plans are another really good source for taking care of pets. You can use those assets during your lifetime and then leave the remainder to the pet trust. Investment assets, of course, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, checking, savings, savings bonds, even real property.
Yeah.
You could leave a piece of property to a trust that could then be converted to cash. And right now, I'm working for a pet trust where the beneficiaries are a bird and two cats. And looks like they're going to end up with a pet trust of a couple $100,000 to provide for their lifetime care.
Wow.
And then at the end of their lifetime, all of that money that's left is going to go to three national humane organizations.
Very cool. So, what is something besides those, what you just said, that you would tell somebody that's a pet parent that is just starting out thinking about, I never thought of a pet trust before. Oh my God, I'm a little overwhelmed. What should I do? I have 10, animals.
So I think the first thing that you should do is assemble a notebook. Put together a notebook that has information on all of your pets in it. So you can go to actforpets.org and download our loved pet profile. And you can do one of those for each one of your pets, put it in the notebook, document everything that's in there, provide photos. If your pets are microchipped, their microchip information, their veterinary history, their medical history, their likes and their dislikes, and then identify two or more people that you think would be good pet caregivers to take care of your pets. Talk to those people. Don't just assume they're going to do it.
Right.
So talk to those people. And then I encourage people to put a little card in their wallet, letting people know that, if you happen to get into a car accident, that you've got pets that are home alone,
Yep.
a sticker on the front of your door at your house in case of first responders come to your house for any reason. You could put a sticker on the dashboard of your car, even saying, I have pets who are home alone. I think it's just important to spread that information out as much as you possibly can, so that if something were to happen to you, that at least somebody would be put on notice. Even if you don't do a pet trust, these are all things that cost nothing to do,
Yep.
to just make sure that somebody's going to be aware that your pets are home alone. Because God forbid, I did hear a horror story a couple weeks ago about a gal who had passed away at home. And she probably was one of those crazy cat ladies, but she passed away at home. She had an abundance of cats, and when she was finally discovered, the cats had been unfed and uncared for and untended for several weeks.
Yeah.
And you can imagine the disaster that was.
Yeah, really sad. It's sad for the lady and it's sad for the cats. It's something to really seriously think about. I think that having the notebook and everything you said is really important to get started for people and definitely have those conversations, because it's important, especially if you are a single person like that lady was, and maybe you don't have a lot of family, or even if you do have family, maybe you're an only child and you don't have siblings or cousins or all those things, to help take care of the pet. It's really an important thing to think about.
Make
Sadly,
friends with your neighbors. Make friends with your veterinarian.
yeah,
They have systems now where you can call in on a daily basis, just as a checks and balance system, so that if you don't call in, somebody comes to look for you. I think as we age, we have to be aware of these potential problems and then try to find solutions.
yeah, absolutely. Do you have, like you were mentioning before, a card for your wallet or those stickers? Does Animal Care Trust USA have any of that stuff?
I don't, but I have something that you can download actually. I mean, they're
Okay.
not pre-made or anything, but you can download it, fill it out for yourself.
Okay.
And also, I'm going to be releasing a new edition of All My Children Wear Fur Coats, a third edition, and I'll have those, some sample forms and things in the back of that book as well.
That's awesome. And you're mentioning that you also have a podcast that you've been doing for years that's pretty popular.
I do. It's called All My Children Wear Fur Coats.
Mhm.
And you've been a guest on my show, and we have really interesting people on every single week. I loved my guest that I had on yesterday, who's a scientist doing scientific research on the rehoming of pets,
Oh, wow. That's
to make
interesting.
sure that when we rehome pets, that they actually get to a home where they're going to be loved.
Right. Wow, that's really interesting. A scientist talking about that. I love that.
Yeah.
I'll have to
You
listen. I'll have
follow
to
the
listen.
science, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a couple of fun questions for you, but I just wanted to make a comment about those cards and hospitals and stuff like that. So we have a member that has worked with senior citizens in a couple of different care facilities. She's also done pet sitting. She has a social work degree. I forget what the name of her business um, that she works for, but something she had been trying to do for years was get an intake form at the hospital, like make it a SOP, standard operating procedure. You, regardless of age, if you're bringing into the emergency room for any reason, and they're able to like ask you the questions or fill out the thing. Now it's done online, right? They bring a computer over to your bed,
Right.
ask that question. Do you have a pet at home? Is there anybody that we can contact for you to care for that pet if you're going to be in the hospital for a little bit? Because not everybody has family members coming to the hospital. And so I don't know where she got on that. So if anybody is watching, and if you know anybody, Peggy, that has not done that, and that's not on the intake form or the thing that they're filling out in the medical world. I think that would be an amazing thing as our world becomes more and more pet friendly, as apartments become more and more pet friendly. There's so much apartment building going on here in Long Island. And I think about the hundreds and hundreds of pets that could be in there. And if somebody's in there and has an accident or, just can't make it home in time, whatever, but has to go to the hospital for something, they really need that on the intake form. So I'd be curious if you have heard anybody that has that in their intake forms for hospitals.
I have not heard that, but I always like to say that when I'm president of the world, I'm going to create one standard form for everything.
Yeah.
And we would definitely be asking about pets. Yeah, we should be asking about pets. They ask about children. Why wouldn't they ask about pets?
Exactly. I mean, when I board my dog, I have to put in a case of emergency number, right? If I'm out of town, and I do that every time I board him. So I think it's really something to think about. So if anybody is in the medical field for humans watching, please let us know if this is something that you see in your hospital or your doctor's office, because it's a skipped question and it's an important question, I think. And I'll shout out to Jennifer Devine because she was the one that had mentioned that way back when. And I don't know if she's gotten any traction on that, but I was like, that's a good idea. I never even thought of that.
It is a good idea. And the cards that we were talking about earlier, the place that I always suggest you keep them is right there with your health insurance card,
Right.
or right behind your health insurance card so that people would find it, or right behind your driver's license.
Yeah. I think there is a company that does make those little printable cards for your pets. Can't remember. If somebody remembers, comment below and let us know. All right, so let's have some fun questions. So what's your favorite thing about working in the pet industry?
All the really cool people I get to meet, because I think pet lovers love other pet lovers. And we love to talk about our pets and share stories and pictures and just the crazy things that our pets do on a regular basis that make us laugh.
Yeah,
So I think that's the best part, is just getting to meet such a wide variety of people.
I love it. I love it. And what is the best piece of advice? It could be business advice or life advice that you've ever received.
Oh my gosh, that's a good question. I have no idea.
We can come back to that one as you
Well,
think about it.
I'll tell you though, when I started my law practice, the thing that motivated me at that point was a book that has been around for quite a while now, called "Who Moved My Cheese?" And the question that the book asked was, what would you do if you knew you could not fail? And I think that that's always a good question to ask ourselves, because I think we get not just fear of failure, but fear of success sometimes too.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good thing to ask ourselves, what would you be doing if you knew you could not fail? Because that's probably the thing that you want to do. Is there a way to combine your passion with your profession? I mean, I feel like I'm lucky I got to do that.
Yeah, you definitely did. I love that question. I've heard that before. I think it's important to ask yourself that. What is your daily non-negotiable habit that help keeps you grounded?
Ha! Scooping horse poop.
Right? I love that. Where's Beth Miller that we talked about poop on our show? She'll be very happy.
Yeah, I'm sure she would.
Good joke.
But
Good inside joke.
it's true, because first thing I do every day is I get up, I let the dogs out, I go out to the barn, I feed the horses, and I scoop the poop. And it's the best time it does really ground me, because I'm alone, I'm doing something physical, I'm listening to the sounds of nature, and my horses in the background, my dogs are playing in the yard. And I really think it's a great way to start my day and not really have any stress associated with that.
It's almost meditative, right? You're
Oh,
doing
yeah.
it's meditative. You're cleaning. It's like anything like that where you're in the zone, but you're not like stressed out thinking about 5 million other things. You're really in the moment. And I think as people, we're not in the moment that much. We're always thinking about the next thing, what we have to get done, all the things. So I love that.
I jokingly tell people I'm one of the few lawyers they know that starts shoveling the you-know-what before they get to the office.
That could be a tagline. That is freaking hilarious. Oh my God, that's so funny, Peggy. So, is there anything about Animal Care Trust USA or trust in general that I didn't ask you that you'd like to add?
No, I think you asked me a lot of great questions. So my bottom line for people would be, create that notebook, identify your pet caregivers, carry those in case of emergency cards. And if you're so inclined, create a pet trust for the benefit of your pet. So that so that you have the peace of mind that if something happens to you, that your pets are going to be cared for. I know we all feel in our hearts that we're going to outlive all of our pets, but I'm here to tell you that does not happen. Every day I have clients that pass away with pets
Yeah.
that need to have long-term care. Fortunately, through Animal Care Trust and some of our affiliated partners, we've been able to place all of those pets in really nice, loving homes or sanctuaries. And through the generosity of the pet parents, those pets have plenty of money to provide for their care.
Yeah, it's really important. I think what you do is such important work. So thank you for doing it, because the more that we spread this awareness, the more that people learn about it, our pets will be cared for, as you say, in forever homes, right?
Yeah, Forever Homes. And you can spell that however you want, FURER or FORB.
Right, exactly. So, how people that are watching, how can they connect with you?
I'm easy to find. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me at hoytbryan.com, which is my law firm, or at actforpets.org, or just Google me. You'll find me.
Awesome. And we'll put those in the comment section. So, Peggy, thank you so much for being here and informing people more about the importance of having a pet trust for your pets, for yourself, for your peace of mind. I really appreciate your time. And just for a show note, next week's show is on Tuesday, May 10th at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it's with Dr. Neville Bryan with When Pets Fly. Peggy, thank you again so much for being here. And everybody watching, go check out Peggy's websites and find out how you can get a pet trust.
Thank you, Nancy. Always great to see you.
You too. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day, everyone. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.